headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.
Nick, good morning.
Good morning to you, Jeremy.
When I read what you wrote on Facebook, everybody would be shocked. I want you to just tell every person listening this story what happened to you from beginning to end.
Well, I was coming into the studio last night, and thanks for the opportunity to do this, because coming into work, I was on 17:30 on a Sunday evening, not the time you expect to face any sort of problems whatsoever. And as I got on the train, there was one person ahead of me who put a bike into the gangway and went and took a seat, just as people do, near their bike. And I tried to gently step round this person because their feet he was sitting sideways on the seat. His feet was sticking in the gangway, and I carefully trod past them, a young lad who was there. And I was clutching my computer and all the paraphernalia we bring into the studio, and my umbrella, and I didn't touch him. I walked 3 paces further, and he shouted something at me. And all I heard was something about your bleep, bleep, bleep umbrella. And I turned around and I said, as we do, we're British, aren't we? We immediately apologise for something you haven't done. You say, I'm terribly sorry, or whatever. And he sprang up. And I saw him. He was about 5'10". His face was right in my face, Jeremy. Pretty close. And he just said to me, "You move on, or I'm going to stab you." And I can't begin to describe what goes through your head, because you act on instinct. Now, I didn't see a knife. His hand was in his pocket. It went to his pocket. And my only thought was, I have to de-escalate. I have to get out of this situation. The train was just leaving the station. There were 2 other people on the train right up at the far end, I think. It might have been 3. They wouldn't have heard or seen anything, I don't think, because he wasn't shouting. It was calm. It was controlled. And I said, I didn't mean to offend you. And I kind of annoyed with myself for this, because it just feels like pleading, but you don't rationalize. And he said, "I'm going to stab you. Move on. Walk on."
Wow.
And then I did something incredibly stupid, Jeremy, and I just don't know why I did it looking back, is I backed off sensibly, and I didn't leave the carriage. It wasn't one of these open carriages. This is where you have to navigate doors and everything. I guess I didn't want to turn my back. And I said a few words that I thought calmed the situation. He backed off, actually. And I thought, okay, that's good. But I sat in the chair in the same carriage, about 3 rows down against the wall. I can't explain why. I should have perhaps turned around and just left the door. Anyway, I sat there sort of a bit not sure what was going through my head. And then he was on the phone, and I hadn't realized all the time. I think he had his headpiece on. He was on the phone, and he started to say things I can't repeat, but basically to whoever was on the phone, and he was getting wound up again in the space of 30 seconds, and he was coming over to stab me. And this was extraordinary. Now, there was no knife there. I'm not pretending he waved something at me, but I didn't know.
No.
I just didn't know. And so I then thought, okay, I've got to seize my moment. I went into the next carriage. It was a busy carriage, and I stopped there. And probably for about 5 minutes, I actually thought, what do I do? Is this something you bother 999 with? I mean, how British is that? It was just a ludicrous things going through my head. And I did, and I spoke. And then from that moment on, I have to say there was a very comprehensive response, in the sense that they understood the situation immediately. They tried to work out what station the train was going to stop. But it was quite extraordinary, really, because I did remain very calm, I think, at the time when I was talking to him. About 30 minutes later, I was thinking, what on earth happened there? And it sank in.
You are, first of all, incredibly brave to come on and tell the story. I think it's important that you did. I think it's really important. And I think that we can all be in a position sometimes when something happens and you just feel peripheral, like it's not happening to you. You were scared, right?
I was, but funny enough, Jeremy, I was scared immediately afterwards.
Yeah, shock afterwards.
It was bizarre. I just thought, I've got to react and calm this down. So So literally, probably about a minute or two into this, I started to get scared. It probably didn't last probably more than, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 minutes.
And you came in and did the show, did you?
Yeah, I was on the way to do the show, yes.
How did you carry on as normal, or was it very difficult?
That was strange, because the more time that passed, I actually felt slightly unease, out of control for moments. But bizarrely, and I don't know if anyone's who listening, maybe, funny enough, talking about it on the show, I opened up with a talk about it, because funny enough, we were talking about what do you want from your police force in the future and all of that, as you can imagine, with the Cressida Dick story. And that was helpful. And people rang in. We shared some stories. And there was some criticism, and there were a lot of people saying sort of odd things for the moment, but I kind of understand it. So one person came on and said, you know, as an MP, can you honestly say you ever did anything about this? Did you ever worry about knife crime? And now it's happened to you. Maybe that'll teach you a lesson, which was unfortunate, because one of the things I did in 5 years, I spent all my time, basically a lot of my time, on knife crime, trying to introduce laws and working with charities.
And
but
I guess that reinforced in your head how important that is. I mean, you've told me before you felt safe before, and when something like that happens, like I say, it's almost like you're in a different world. Do they not have video cameras on trains?
Well, apparently, according to the police, because this was one of the older trains, they did have video cameras, but apparently they shouldn't rely on these, dare I say it, working or being in use. Because this guy had a bicycle, they're fairly confident they'll be able to pick him out of Bishop Stortford, and I think he got off at Cheshunt. In fact, I know he got off at Cheshunt, but he had a hoodie, so whether anything will come of it or not, I don't know.
It's interesting, you know, I can sit here and I can think, did you think about taking your phone out and videoing him? But in that moment,
I did.
Right? But then you think, am I going to antagonise him? Am I going to... And of course, easy, Nick, isn't it, to go, you just walk through to the other cabin where there's 50 people, and if he comes through there. But it's a horrible, horrible thing. And I'm really pleased that we did this with you, because I think we spent all morning talking about the escalation in the Ukraine, and people have accused me of warmongering. I'm not warmongering, and I haven't put Nick De Bois on to tell everybody that everybody's going to be threatened on a train. But there are people out there who do not behave like the rest of us, and that needs to be dealt with. I've long thought the laws for knife crime are inadequate. I mean, from years ago on the show, doing loads and loads of television shows about knife crime, and it's postcode knife crime, everything you can come in. Disgusting. I just hope as a mate you're all right, pal.
Well, that's really kind, but Jeremy, you hit on the nub of this. The thing I will never forget is there was absolutely no fear of accountability in this guy's eyes. He had no fear. He had no fear of being held to account. He thought that this was perfectly acceptable behaviour to behave like this.
And that's what, and that, for all the do-gooders who say, let's sit down and have a conversation. If you say, I've been saying this for years, if you say to that youth, you're going to prison, you just go, and just see that as a badge of honour, right? Literally a badge of honour. Something has to be done. I hope you're okay, pal, and I really appreciate you sharing the story.
Good talk. Hot talk.
Bold talk. Talk Radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV.
The world headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.